still there from March. On the men's side in basketball, NC State out of nowhere. And on the women's side, Iowa LSU. Does it get any better?
It doesn't. That game was in Albany. I'll talk about a couple games out in Portland and another capitulation on the hands of the NCAA.
I don't know what that word means, but I do know that Luke Burgess joins the Juicer to battle Andrew. And then Andrew and I are drafting lineups with money. Don't worry, we're not in financial debt. But we'll see what happens on No Pulp, which starts right now.
Kansas State has been on fire this year.
Missouri is one of the most fraudulent teams in college basketball.
And it was proved
They're not going to fire him. He's the best player in program history.
Side to Lawrence for the win! Yes! He got it!
She is the Shohei Ohtani of college softball. This is a team that's potentially going to be a top 10 team in the country.
How you feeling?
I'm excited to win the Juicer.
LSU has captured its very first national championship.
LSU and Iowa meeting again tonight, not in the national championship, in the Elite Eight. One of the many things we'll touch on tonight on No Pulp. Ian Nicholas alongside Andrew Selover. Andrew, you must be excited. You got another crack at the Juicer, this time against Luke Burgess. You're looking for revenge.
Yeah, as you heard there, I'm excited to win the Juicer again. I lost for the first time last time out, so we need to win tonight. And I've been told by a lot of people they're getting tired of that clip. They don't like to hear it at the start of the show. Might need to change things up in the open pretty soon.
Well, you know, all the greats have to lose sometime around, and that's where we're going to start. A blue blood falls in an in-state rivalry in men's basketball in the Elite Eight. A team that just won't lose, Andrew. NC State, Kevin Keatts and company, 9 straight wins since the start of the ACC tournament, and their last 2 have been easily their most impressive against Marquette and Duke. Is this team legit?
How are they not legit, Ian?
Is this a Cinderella, or is this more than just your average Cinderella? I guess is what I'm getting at.
It's a question mark of whether this is them playing well beyond their potential, or the regular season was them playing well below what they could have been.
Because they lost 5 of their last 6 to close out the regular season.
And they weren't exactly that good. They had to play on the first day in the ACC tournament.
Against Louisville.
But when you watch this team play and you look at all the talent there, and you see what DJ Burns and DJ Horn can do, it's hard not to question what was going on in the first 30 games of the regular season. But at the same time, you also have to think to the ACC tournament, and this clip has been passed around a lot. They were 1 free throw from Virginia away from not being at this point, not being in the tournament.
I know we don't talk a lot about Isaac McNeely of the Cavaliers on this show, but he missed a free throw. Then Michael O'Connell went down the other end of the floor. I remember you and I were watching that game live together, one of the most ridiculous buzzer-beating threes of all time. McNeely almost a 90% free throw shooter. But ever since that moment, NC State wins that game outright in overtime, and they have looked legit. You look at DJ Burns, the guy has been unstoppable, almost 30 points against Duke and Kyle Filipowski. This was a guy who was very highly recruited out of high school, originally at Tennessee. He is an athlete.
And this is what people love March Madness for.
Yep.
The UConn runs where they're dominant and make it to the Final Four, winning by 20 plus in every game, are cool too. But everybody admires this as one of, if not the best sporting events in the world because of these runs, like in NC State, like St. Peter's or Princeton. It's the Cinderellas that draw you in. And yes, I think it's fair to say a Cinderella because you'll look at the record and nobody's going 26-14 and making the Final Four except for NC State.
Tied as an 11 seed, NC State is tied with, I believe, 5 other teams for the lowest ranked seed or highest ranked seed, whatever way you want to look at it, highest being a worse seed, to make it to this point in the tournament. First Final Four for them in over 40 years when Jimmy V was the head coach. But now, Andrew, it's Purdue. So Zach Edey, DJ Burns, that is a fun matchup, right? But do they really stand a chance with the Heat, the 9 straight wins that they've got? Do they stand a chance against the Purdue team that looks almost as dominant as UConn right now?
That's the question mark. And a lot of people say, well, this hasn't been that serious of competition that they've faced in the NCAA tournament. A little bit lucky. And Marquette only shot at 20% from the floor when they played them.
But it was a 2 seed.
But I agree.
I did have them losing in the round of 64.
I think this is serious. If you can run the gauntlet in the ACC, which outperformed everybody's expectations again, and then do it in the NCAA, that's backing it up. Because a lot of people perform in one tournament and not the other. But once I see that you can perform in both, I think that's legit. I think this is a top 5 Cinderella run or run altogether all time in NCAA tournament history.
You're not going to say this is the best run
I don't think so yet. If they win it all, that's the best run of all time. But
and
I
Kevin
think
Keats should go into the Naismith Hall of Fame tomorrow.
Exactly, even though he was about to get fired before this run. I think that they're top 5. It reminds me a little bit of Oregon State in 2021. Had to win the conference tournament and then go on a run after it. You think of some of the 11 seeds that have made runs, George Mason, VCU, they didn't win their conference tournament. They didn't have to win their conference tournament to get in. NC State did, and they just keep rolling. It's an awesome story.
But you want to talk about rolling. How about the Tide?
Exactly.
Alabama Crimson Tide, Andrew. This team, first Final Four ever under Nate Oates in his 5th year with the program. A lot of people thought in the first round, you know what? They're going to lose at Charleston because they can't play defense. But apparently they brought in some analytics team to teach them how to play defense this late in the season. They take down Clemson. Shout out the Atlantic Coast Conference again. And now they face UConn, and they are peaking at the right time.
Yeah, Alabama's a fascinating team because the way that Nate Oates coaches his team, it feels like they can always lose in the first round or make a Final Four run. And for the first time ever in Crimson Tide history, it's a Final Four run because the speed they play with and the amount of threes that they take. And they've really delivered on the 3-ball, and that's how they win games. They've shot it well over 40% from 3 in every game except the Grand Canyon game. They take 25-plus threes every single game, and if you make them, it's hard to beat them, and that's what you saw in the Clemson and North Carolina game. Every time Clemson made a shot, Alabama made 3 right down the floor.
Yeah, it was fun to watch that game over the weekend and see former Syracuse star Joe Girard going blow for blow with Mark Sears, who somehow wasn't a first-team All-American, wasn't the SEC Player of the Year, although he exploded for 30 against North Carolina. You see him 26 threes. He had a terrible start, Andrew, but 6 threes to close out that game. My guy, Ryland Griffin, who we're going to talk about a little bit later in the show, he made 3 triples, and you mentioned it. The offense that they run, it's either layup, 3-pointer, that's it, and that style of play is something that UConn hasn't seen yet. Is it going to throw the Huskies off?
Well, that's the question. You have to make the shots. And if you make the shots, if you're Alabama, they can beat anybody in the country. And if they don't make the shots, it could get really ugly. I mean, uglier than almost any game that UConn has played already.
And they have had a 30-point lead, by the way, in every single one of those games.
Exactly. And so if Alabama shoots at 50% from 3, like they did in a couple games already, then they'll hang right with UConn. And if not, if they're shooting at 20% like they did against Grand Canyon, they'll get blown out the door.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing about Alabama is the threes that they take, they are risky threes. Yeah. They like to take them from deeper and more beyond the arc because they can kind of take a step into a shot and have some momentum. I don't know what Nate Oates is coaching over there, but
it's working.
It is working. In his 5th year. And again, this is, like you mentioned, maybe an Alabama team that didn't have talent like the one that last year's team had. 3 new assistant coaches, 4 new starters. But this team, 5 new starters, I believe, because you had Sears come over from Ohio.
Exactly.
But a really good team in Alabama. 2 great teams going at it on the women's side, though. Everybody's talking about how the women's basketball in general in college is getting more hype than the men's, and this is the reason why. Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark in the Elite 8 tonight. Obviously, you're not going to see this tonight, but what you are going to see is that Iowa, the one-woman band of Caitlin Clark, overcame the drama-filled Kim Mulkey, Flaw J. Johnson squad, and it was a great first half, Andrew. Tied at 45 each. Second half, though, Caitlin Clark took over, and LSU probably shoots itself in the foot one too many times.
Well, I take exception to one thing you said there. You said Iowa's a one-woman band. And I think that Caitlin Clark is phenomenal. She's the best player on the floor every time she plays.
Almost 40 points and 12 assists tonight.
Yes, but UConn is not a one-player team. If you
mean Iowa?
Sorry, Iowa. If you filled Iowa with a bunch of nobodies, Caitlin Clark can't do it all on her own. She sets her teammates up. She hits crazy shots.
Just because she's setting her teammates up doesn't mean that they're not elite players.
Right. But they have talent. It's not a one-player band.
There's only one other player on that team, Hannah Schulke, that was a top 100 recruit. That's it.
It doesn't matter what recruit number you are.
Yes,
if they had nobody players on that team, then Iowa wouldn't be in the Final Four.
Fine, but tell me, who are the other players that really impressed you tonight for Iowa?
Schulke and Gabby Marshall have both been really impressive. And if they aren't there, if you have nobodies on the team, it's not going to be one player taking you all the way to the Final Four.
would you agree that LSU is one of, if not the most talented team in the country?
Yes, I think LSU has more talent probably than Iowa does.
Probably?
Probably.
Yes, that is a definite yes.
No, it's
Angel
not.
Reese, Hannah Van Lith, maybe
Haley
the
Van
greatest coach in the game outside of Gino Auriemma, Tara Vanderveer, and she's right up there with them. Everything, you go up and down. The reigning national champs. They lost some pieces from last year, but they reloaded. This is the much better team, and they almost win by double digits.
Yeah.
It's not a one-woman team.
Exactly.
No, it is. I'm getting so worked up.
No,
I can't
it is
believe
not. It's not.
Yes, it is.
No, you don't
named
go to the...
2 above-average players for Iowa.
I just did.
I could give you the whole starting 5 is significantly better.
Sure, there is more talent top to bottom, but you can't just ignore the other players. Caitlin Clark is still great, and what she did and making some of the shots she did is phenomenal.
She tied the NCAA record
I know.
for most threes.
I'm not taking anything away from Caitlin Clark, but you just cannot go out and say that she's the only player on the team.
If she goes out and has a good game, and by good I mean like 25 points and 7 assists, they lose.
Sometimes.
She needs to have a super. She needed. Everybody was saying if Caitlin Clark loses
against
this
LSU,
game, if Caitlin
the reigning
Clark,
champs.
Yeah, but you're saying Iowa is not a one-woman team. I think you're in such a minority in that.
I don't think I am. But let's talk a little bit more about what Iowa did tonight. What did you think was the difference maker?
Angel Reese fouling out with a few minutes left didn't help, even though she, in maybe the final game in her women's basketball career was great. 20 rebounds for her. I think the difference, Haley Van Lith.
Yeah.
Van Lith, I think she's gotten a lot of flack this year. Hasn't lived up to the expectations that she set for herself last year at Louisville. One of the best players in the country, but she was apparently playing through illness tonight, and she was taking a lot of bad shots. At some points, her teammates were looking at her and saying, what are you doing?
Yeah, I think Haley Van Lith was not the answer for what LSU needed tonight. 6 points per game in the tournament, not good enough if they wanted to make the return and win the national championship. One team that wanted to make it to the national championship, get back to the Final Four, was Houston.
Yep.
But the Cougars, as a 1 seed, fall in the Sweet 16 again this year. One key piece out for most of that game, Jamal Shed. That was a difference maker against the Blue Devils.
Yeah, I mean, not only is he one of your top guys in terms of offensive production, but when you think Houston, you think defense. And the defense shined throughout this game. He left late in the first half, and neither team cracks 55 points. But when you have a guy like Kyle Filipowski out there, Jared McCain out there, they got the big-time buckets the Blue Devils did. And, we're going to talk a little bit more about Duke throughout this show because they end up losing to NC State in the next game. But this is not a good loss. Even though Duke is a historic program, they had so many cracks in the armor this year, Andrew. It doesn't feel like a good loss. It's never a good loss, but if you were going to go down, you would want to go down in the Elite Eight to a more high-flying team than a Duke team that never lived down its identity.
I'm with you. I didn't think Duke was the best this year. I think it's actually a success for Shire to make it to the Elite Eight with Duke this year. But I think it's hard for me to say this is a massive disappointment for Houston when the offense that ran through one guy didn't have that guy in the tournament, in that game. If you had Jamal Shed down the stretch, I think Houston wins that game and makes the Elite Eight. So it's a little tougher this year compared to last year when they lost as a 1 seed in the Sweet 16 to say this is a bigger disappointment. I also think when you look at everything that Houston has done over the years, they've been impressive. I mean, they made the Final Four in 2021, made the Elite Eight as a 5 seed in 2022. So I don't think this is a sign that Houston won't make it far in the tournament in years to come.
No. So which number 1 seed losing this weekend shocked you the most, is more disappointing, North Carolina or Houston?
I think North Carolina.
And why? Just because they have more talent?
Yeah, a little more talent, and because they had their best players on the floor. I think it's tough. I mean, if R.J. Davis or Armando Bacot,
but they lost to arguably
injured,
a better team in Alabama.
Agreed. I think Duke versus Alabama. Alabama's a much more respectable loss just because of what Duke has done this year. They haven't really impressed me that much.
No, you lose multiple times to North Carolina. And, John Shire, we'll see. He recruits the best players in the country. You want to talk about a good team. Duke is a great team. I still cannot believe that you said that LSU women's basketball, yes, they're great, but Iowa's not a one-woman team.
They're not. You just can't disrespect the players that are on the floor.
That was a nothing program before she was there. They're going to be a nothing program after she leaves. Gabby Marshall, Hannah Scholke, Rec League player number 4.
Oh my
They're doing
gosh,
nothing
that's
this year.
disrespectful out of Ian. Speaking of Rec League player number 4, we might have to get to the bottom of the list of all the players in the starting lineups in the Final Four. We're put on a budget when we come back to pick our Final Four starting 5 out of the 20 starting players headed to the Final Four in March Madness this year.
Here we go. We're gonna go out there in the rain. You're gonna get wet. All right, here we go. Okay, quick. Oh yeah, yes. So much fun. Mwah. We're getting so wet.
Your daughter just had her first breakup. Do you A, put yourself in her shoes, B, console her,
Don't worry, sweetie. This is gonna happen a lot.
or C, find her a new boyfriend?
Nice single boys. That was weird.
As a parent, there are no perfect answers. But you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
Life doesn't always give you time to change the outcome. Prediabetes does. 1 in 3 adults has prediabetes, but with early diagnosis, prediabetes can be reversed. And you can change the outcome. Take the 1-minute prediabetes risk test today. Go to doihaveprediabetes.org.
Hey, welcome back to No Pulp. Andrew Selover, Ian Nicholas, and a whole bunch of basketball players here
I feel
joining
like
us.
I'm on Instagram right now.
What should we call this, Ian?
Well, I think you coined it, and our executive producer, Sean Dempsey, he coined it as well. It's the Final Four starting 5.
Okay.
Right?
Got it. So basically what we've done here, out of the 4 teams that made the Final Four, NC State, Purdue, along with UConn, and who am I missing?
NC State? Did you say
No,
them?
I said Alabama. Alabama. I missed
We talked
Alabama.
about them a lot.
We've got 4 teams up here.
And
We've got all their
$12 to work
players,
with.
according to the producers, ranked in terms of their position, money order, and we have $12 to pick our starting lineup. We did this pre-drafted, so it's not in the necessary order. We got to go in any order we wanted here. But I'll give it to you, Ian, first. We're going point guard here. Who'd you pick? You go a lot of money or not a lot of money to
I
start?
went big swing. You know, that was my philosophy is if you don't have the star power in March Madness, you're not winning games. Even in a team like NC State, right? They have stars on that team. But I'm not going with an NC State player here. I'm going with the team you forgot, Alabama, and Mark Sears. This guy is electric, as I talked about previously in the show. You see the eye for your guy, Ian. You know, I take a big swing here because guard play, you hear about it every tournament. You want to invest in teams, Andrew, that have elite guard play. He scored 30 against Charleston, against UNC. When they needed him against Clemson in the second half, he showed up. He is an unbelievable shot maker. You know, I'm a New York Knicks fan. I know you don't like the NBA, Andrew, but his game reminds me a lot of Jalen Brunson.
Interesting.
At Villanova.
Comparison.
So I like him
I'm
as
curious.
the star
That
of my
takes
team.
a big chunk out of the budget. You go from 12 to 8. What's the decision making there? A lot of money early.
I needed one 4-star player.
Okay.
A $4 player, whatever you want to call it. So I figured I had the number 1 overall pick, and I needed an elite guard. I value guards over bigs, so that's why I went with Mark Sears.
Okay, so I did the exact opposite. I didn't think
'Cause you're
it was
wrong.
important to spend here. I went $1. I went Michael O'Connell for NC State.
Okay.
Because with my point guard,
I love him as a guy, but
he made the biggest shot of the season so far for NC State against
Yes,
Virginia,
we already talked
which
about
was
that.
an awesome shot. But I think, you know,
but
I wanted a
6.5
guy.
points per game since.
I wanted to save some money, get a game manager that, you know, is used to not turning the ball over. He'll set up his teammates. I just wanted a guy that was out there that could run the point, you know, protect the basketball, and set up the stars that are coming with my big bucks later.
But when you need a big three-point shot are you going to have that guy?
I'll
I
get-
got
I'll
my
get-
guy when we need a big
Well,
three.
that's when I didn't go to point guard for that. I'll get a big shooter later on.
All right, well, I'm going to go with another big shooter here, Andrew. And we already talked about NC State. You know, DJ Horn's not a shooter. DJ Burnt isn't a shooter, but I always get those guys mixed up. DJ Horn, though, you shouldn't be mixing him up because this guy is awesome. He's a great story, too. Spent the first few years of his college career at Arizona State, transfers to NC State, and he is a Raleigh kid, and he's more than just a feel-good story. He is one of the best three-level scorers in the tournament. He's averaging 16.5 a game, but it wouldn't surprise anybody if he went off for 20 or 25 a night. And he's also, I like that I don't really have a true lead point guard. Both of these guys, Horn and Sears, they're combo guards. So they can do whatever I need them to do down this stretch. They're not, Michael O'Connell, he's big shot Bob, sure, but outside of that, what is he? Yeah. Both of my guys are elite in all phases of the game offensively.
Yeah, this is the one pick of yours that I'm going to be completely honest with everybody. That's the one pick of yours that I really wanted, and you got DJ Horn before I could.
Sorry.
And so that left me, do I go big money? Do I go Cam Spencer? I decided no. He's due for a technical or two a game. I couldn't afford that.
You need that energy sometimes.
I couldn't afford that on my team. So I went down to the $2 line. Aaron Estrada with Alabama has been impressive this year. He's not exactly the shooter from perimeter that I needed, and I'm still waiting on that for my team.
If you're not a shooter on Alabama, then what are you?
But he gives great athleticism, gets to the rim, and he puts up big numbers in big games. He was one of the biggest reasons that Alabama was able to knock off UNC, went for 20 in that game. So I've got Estrada, and I'm still saving money a little bit. I mean, you've spent 7. I've spent only 3, so I'm happy where I'm at, and I can get some big names down the line.
Well, I'll be honest with you. I spent less money on my next player, but your player, Estrada, plays on the same team as my player all the way at the bottom down here, Rylan Griffin. Griffin was all region, and Estrada wasn't. I got better value. This is a great player. Not a lot of people are talking about Griffin, but he averaged over 11 points per game on the year. He's upped it to nearly 14 points per game in the NCAA tournament. You want to talk about making big shots? In Alabama's biggest win of a tournament against UNC, Griffin hit 5 threes, and he's a 40% three-point shooter. So, again, I need a catch-and-shoot 3 guy. I need somebody who's not going to dominate the ball. I need somebody to go out there, play his role, and make some big shots, which he's done. Multiple threes in each of the last 3 games, and I got him as a steal.
I got a guy that can really shoot the basketball, even better. And that's for $3. First big spend for me goes to Fletcher Lawyer at Purdue. He shoots it well over 40% from deep, and that's what I needed because I don't have the perimeter shooting yet with O'Connell and Estrada, and so I had to go get a guy that can knock it down at that small forward position, and that's Fletcher Lawyer, best shooter on Purdue.
But he doesn't have Braden Smith next to him. Is he as good without Braden Smith?
But I need a guy that can knock down the 3, and so I needed some shooting, and I had to get him. I had to, so that's where I went with.
That seems desperate.
I saved money.
I don't think I have any holes on my team. You already clearly have some holes.
I don't have holes because I just got my shooting.
You have at best an average point guard.
At best, yeah, because I only went for $1.
I've
got money. You don't. I'm rich. You're broke.
In your mind, you're working in that numbers. I'm working in grit, determination. I think through the 60% mark, I have a better team than you. Is that fair to say?
I think so. I think the next pick could change things, though. You want to go ahead?
Okay. I'll admit, do I have to look at my sheet right now?
That's not a good sign, everybody.
Trey Kaufman-Renn. I've done the research on Trey Kaufman-Renn. This is a diamond in the rough if I've ever seen him.
I'm sorry, Trey.
Could you tell me, Andrew, Zach Edey's on this board. You just got another Purdue player. None of those guys were ranked higher coming out of high school than Trey Kaufman-Renn. He's upped his scoring almost by half in the NCAA tournament, was really big in their early round victories against Utah State and Grambling State. And when he's playing next to Zach Edey, it's understandable that he's not going to put up a lot of points. But if he weren't playing to Zach Edey, which, spoiler alert, I don't have enough money to get Zach Edey, Zach is not going to be on my team. He's going to be a much better, more productive player. He only plays 17 minutes a game, but I'm going to need him to play a little bit more.
This feels like
this is an upside play.
Yeah, I think you're just struggling to explain to people that you just didn't have the money to buy anybody else, and you're trying to explain that this is a good pick.
I thought none of it. Here's the thing.
I'm not sure you in your heart of hearts believe that, though.
I didn't believe it when I'm not going to lie. When I made both the Griffin pick and his pick, I
forgot his name already?
He's got a great, what is it, TKR?
Oh my gosh.
TKR.
Trey, I'm sorry.
It's a tough name. It's Zach Edey rolls right off the tongue. And TKR's name, there's a reason why everyone calls him TKR.
This is real
Trey
bad
Kaufman
for you.
Wren.
Ian's being disrespectful out here.
I'm not being disrespectful. I picked him over some great. Here's the thing. I thought no offense to the producing crew, I was not enthused with the 3 and 4. So I was like, I know really very few of these guys are uber reliable. So I'm going to invest in the guys who I know are unbelievably reliable. And then my forwards are just going to be my forwards. But I think we have a very good player in Griffin and a solid upside play in Kaufman-Ray. That rhymed.
So here for the power forward, I wanted to go up top. I really did. But I had to save money because I want this guy on my team.
Go fight. You're spoiling it.
I know, but I mean, I've got how much money? I've got like $7.
I thought you were smart. You can't even keep track of
how much money I've spent. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
There's literally
$6 left. I need Zach Edey.
I'm going
Muhammad. Yeah, they tried to help me out. Muhammad Diarra is on my team, and I'm really happy about that.
Wow, you went so much. Such a 1 to 2 upgrade. What a rich upgrade for you.
I think that is a steal at $2. I think you could have put him up at $3 because in the tournament, Diarra has been on fire down low. Not only does he give me rebounding, which I don't have yet, but he's averaging a double-double in the NCAA tournament while he's fasting for Ramadan. I mean, that's been undersold in the tournament. He's been fasting for the entire tournament.
That's a great game note, but how is that going to help you out at all on the court?
It really doesn't. I'm just telling you how fabulous Muhammad Diarra is and what he's done in the tournament.
Great story, who cares?
It's incredible. But at least I know his name, 1, and he's averaging...
Trey Kaufman-Ren.
Okay, there we go. We finally got it. But I also think that given he's averaging a double-double, I'm quite happy to have him on my team.
I think Trey Kaufman-Ren, who's had multiple 20-point games this season, if you give him a chance,
on this board.
He was a top 40 recruit. He has the potential to give you double-double. Purdue doesn't need him to do that.
All right, I think you need to stop talking about him and start talking about your center.
Well, it's the only other player on the board that can contain what I assume to be your selection. You already let the cat out of the bag. Yeah. I'm going with, as a Connecticut native, even though I'm not a UConn fan, I have to respect my guy Donovan Clingan. He took... Did you see the numbers that Illinois, one of the best teams in the country offensively, had when he was on the court? They were 0 for 19 when he contested a shot, including 0 for 5 from deep. He is the best interior defender in the country, and he's still giving you 16 points and 10 rebounds per game. He's an athletic freak. He didn't have to come back to UConn this year. He could have easily continued his career as a great player in the NBA, but he's gotten better. And sure, is he going to give you 40 like Zach Edey? No, but I don't need him to give me 40 because I have 3 capable scorers. 2 of them are star scorers. So if he gives me 10, that's all I need. He's going to give me 5 blocks, though, and that's what I really want.
Yeah, you needed some size. I think that's for sure. Because
Trey Kaufman-Ren is a 7-footer.
I don't know how much Trey's going to do for you, though. I'm going to be honest.
He's ready for this moment. Purdue is ready for this moment, and he is part of that.
Trey's coach over here doesn't even know Trey's name, everybody.
I am not Matt Painter. I don't have that slicked back. He's a hair gel guy. I'm a hairspray guy.
Clingan for $3. I think you got to be happy. That feels like right at the right value for Clingan.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think Horn and Clingan are Griffin was my best value pick, but those 2 are solid values too.
I agree. I think they're accurately rated for $3, and you're out of money. And
I have 5 players, so it should be. That's the point.
I'm not out of money, and I have $4 left. Yeah. And that means I can go big time. Zach Edey, that guy has a lot of fight in him. You heard it after the win in the Elite Eight.
Yeah, they had
talking
they had to bleep him.
He said some things I'm not allowed to say on this program.
No.
But what he's done in the NCAA tournament for a team that almost everybody in America said, no way, this team is always upset prone. They're going to lose some game that they shouldn't. And they go out there and they show everybody that they deserve to be one of the best teams in the country.
Tennessee?
Tennessee's a really good team.
Tennessee is almost like the Iowa of the men's tournament and the women's side. It's a one-man show.
Yeah, but
it's
Zach
Dalton Connect,
Edey
and
is a
that's it.
star. I mean, Zach Edey's one of, if not the best players in the country.
No, there's no doubt. I mean, if he doesn't win National Player of the Year, people would be concerned.
I think
he is the National Player of the Year again.
I think I'm not sure if you're willing to agree on this, but I think I got the best player.
No, you definitely got the best player.
But now let's take a check at our teams and
sure.
see who got the best team.
I mean, we have it here, but thanks to our wonderful crew, we're just giving a lot of love in this segment. Because this has been, I love this. I always see stuff like this on my Instagram, Twitter feed, and the fact that we're doing this is amazing. I went for the big swings, and you kind of, your team's more boring, I'd say.
I think it's more balanced. You have top heavy and bottom heavy. And I think
which I think is enough for me to get over the top.
Yeah, I think mine's pretty solid top to bottom, and then I add Zach Edey at the end. I think that guy's the difference maker out here.
I just think outside of Zach Edey, your next best player is Fletcher Royer, and I think that's just such
and Mohamed Diarra. Those
you
two
are
are
a one-man band, which I guess you're a big fan of, Iowa and Tennessee. I've got a big three.
Okay.
And that's a fact.
We'll agree to disagree on who has the better team. But we won't agree to disagree in the juicer because we got a judge, Ian Nicholas, to judge the showdown. I'm going up against Luke Burgess, and I'm excited to win the juicer when we return.
To an excellent episode of Live from Studio B.
Leaving hot coals improperly extinguished can cause a wildfire.
Hey guys, it's Smokey!
It looks as if Smokey is going to use the drown, stir, drown and feel technique. After the first drown, a good start. Next, another drink. And finally, a close feel.
Is it cool? Okay. Yeah.
Hey Smokey, catch!
Oh, my bad, Smokey.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Welcome back to No Pulp. Ian Nicholas alongside my co-host Andrew Selover, who's ready to go in the juicer against Luke Burgess. Now, Luke, before we get into this showdown, Andrew and I just picked Final Four starting fives for $12. Who do you think had the better team?
You know, I had to think about it for a while, but I do think that the top heaviness of your team is going to get you through.
Thank you.
I think you have the star
He's
power.
playing to his host.
I will say,
he doesn't want to make the host,
I
man.
will say I love Mo Diarra. I think he's a
Thank you.
fantastic rebounder, and that's a great pick. But overall, yeah, I think
Playing to
you
his
got
host.
the better team.
So I've already won tonight. Let's see if Andrew can. Juicer, 3 questions. First one's worth 1, second 2, third 3. The winner gets the No Pulp orange juice. If we don't have a winner after 3 questions, we have a bonus question. Andrew, the first question, the most shocking team that bowed out in the men's tournament this weekend.
Yeah, so I'll go with Houston, a #1 seed that we already talked about. But it's less so to do about what Houston did and more so to do with who they lost to. And that's Duke. And that's a Duke team that I know I don't like, I know you don't like that much. I mean, they were good enough to make the tournament, but to make the Elite Eight, come on now. And as a 1 seed, to lose to Duke in the fashion that Houston lost to Duke, I know they were playing without Jamal Shed.
Yeah, I mean, you were kind of making that argument earlier in the show.
Right, but Duke is just not that good of a team. And so as a 1 seed to lose to that Duke team, I think that's a little embarrassing.
All right, do we have an embarrassing bow out for you as well, Luke, on the men's side?
I mean, yeah, I do think we have an embarrassing bow out to a degree, and it's kind of along the same lines. You always you think the good teams are going to be good, right? It's about who do they lose to.
A lot of chalk in these brackets.
Yeah, so Arizona. Look at this Arizona team who lost to Clemson. And sure, you can say that Clemson's been really good so far in the tournament, but they had some shaky losses throughout the season and some shaky performances. You're kind of relying on Joe Girard as your best three-point shooter right now. And, I mean, you know, he's solid. He's been good with Clemson, but I don't really think he's that guy. The guy that you really want to rely on.
He was that guy in Glens Falls, New York.
You look at a loss to Boston College in the ACC tournament, and then a ridiculous run. It looks like a team that has a lot of flaws, had a lot of bad losses throughout the season, kind of caught fire at the right time. And you expect an Arizona team that's so well-rounded to kind of beat a team like that, and they fell a little bit short.
I agree. Sorry, Andrew. You're going to fall in an early hole here because you already made the argument that Houston loss wasn't that bad. Now you have to backtrack. It seemed like this was going to be the year that Caleb Love and company, in his first year there, got over the hump, and they didn't. But you have a chance to build onto this lead, potentially win the juicer right here, Luke. You're already up 1-0. Women's basketball, the top performer so far in the tournament.
Yeah, you know, I wanted to surprise some people. We talk about this UConn team. It's a strong UConn team. Defense wins championships, right, Andrew? Let's talk about Nika Mule because she plays really good defense. Yeah, you might say that. People might be a little surprised.
They did play Syracuse, so I am aware.
Yeah, well, people might be a little surprised about Nika Mule. They don't know her name too well.
Averaging 36 minutes.
She goes up against the other team's best player every single night. And she's guarding Juju Watkins. UConn is off to a lead. I have the advantage of sitting over there.
That game is USC-UConn currently in the middle of a game.
Yeah,
as we film this.
Yes, and Nika Mule hit a massive three to start the second half, put UConn in front. She's playing her role. She guards the other team's best player every night, and I think that she's done a really good job.
I had to check my eyesight there to make sure that the top line on the stats was that she was playing 36 minutes.
That's a lot of minutes.
If 36 minutes is the top thing you're doing, then that's a problem. I'm going with Isaiah James for NC State. And what Isaiah James did for NC State, this is a team in the Wolfpack that you know a lot about the Rivers show, River Baldwin and Sanaya Rivers. But you don't hear a ton about Isaiah James, and she bumped her point average from 16 points per game to 24.2 points per game, and she is still on playing because the 3-seed Wolfpack have made it all the way to the Final Four, thanks in large part to her performances. 29 against Stanford, and then 27 against the 1-seed Texas. She showed up big time when it mattered most.
Yeah, I don't think I need to say why Andrew is taking the 2-1 lead here, but I will.
Pretty explainable.
One, both NC State teams. Shout out to both of those teams. We haven't said that yet. Making it to the Elite Eight in men's and women's, in the Final Four in men's and women's. And I mean, defense wins championships, but this is just. She's the Tony Allen of UConn women's basketball. You need a little bit more than that.
Syracuse came back when she fouled out of the game.
We talked enough Syracuse women's hoops. They lost in the round of 32. Luke is down a point, has the chance to win it here. National champion, who has the best chance at men's or women's? Who are the team you are most confident in to take it all?
Right now, it's UConn on the women's side. And I know that's probably not the answer that you're expecting to hear, but there's a reason for that. They have probably, outside of Caitlin Clark, who is obviously an anomaly, probably the most consistent player in all of women's college basketball in Paige Beckers.
That's true.
They have Nika Mule, who's a very good defender. Let's not forget that. But they are also in the lead right now. As we're being told, in real time, USC's made a little bit of a comeback. The game is tied late, but this is a good team. And this was a team that got out to a great second half lead over USC tonight. I think that this is also a squad that has experience, and that's what makes the difference. They've been to the Final Four, they've been to championships, haven't won since 2016, but they have a coach that's been there.
Shout out Syracuse.
And they have a team that has experience in the late stages. They made it to the Sweet 16 30 straight seasons. You put yourself in position, you're going to have success. They're on their way to a win tonight against USC, and I think that just bodes success.
If we're having to hear about how your team is tied in real time of the show, then we've got problems. I'm picking a team.
They were winning when we came on air.
Which sucks for Luke. I will say that is a tough look for Luke.
Yeah, instead I'm picking the UConn men's team, who's trailed for less than a minute all tournament, and they've won every single game by double digits, and they don't look remotely close to losing a game right now, so I don't know why you would have any doubt that the Huskies and Coach Hurley are going to fall short. They're going back-to-back like Florida, baby. This is a team that has been the best team from start to finish, wire to wire. There's no reason to stop believing now.
Don't stop believing. Yeah, I mean, Andrews won this.
Thank you.
And Luke, I give you a lot of credit. As a Connecticut native, You went all UConn. You tried.
I love
you
the Huskies.
Fought. You know what's Nika Mule? Forgot that
Pulp,
I
baby.
watched that whole
A fantastic defender.
A great defender, but a tough pick for best
Cheers.
player in the
Talking when
tournament.
they would be
Cheers.
talking. Well, it was
try.
most surprising player.
No, you picked a bad team. Good try. Cheers to
Okay.
that.
Yep. So Andrew's going to enjoy. He was excited to win the juicer.
Cheers, everybody.
He gets back in the
I hope
win
it tastes
column.
good.
We're back.
No Pulp.
B-A-C-K back.
Okay. Well, we'll be back in a moment. Luke, a heck of an effort. Andrew is going to be unbearable for the final leg of our show. And during the final leg of our show, we are talking some UConn. We're talking some coaching. We're talking what is Westmore doing right now. Andrew's going to talk a little bit about that during our final words on No Pulp.
Fancy pants peanut butter? A big screen television? You haven't even bought a sofa yet. A motorcycle? When your father finds out, he's gonna flip his shoes with 2 buckles? What do you even need 2 buckles for? Mr. Big Shot, buying whiskey shots for everybody in the bar. From the looks of it, I'd say nobody even remembers. Feed the pig.
Well, Thomas, you've got prediabetes. But with more exercise and a change in diet, it can be reversed.
I've tried exercising. It just makes me hungry for bacon.
I love bacon, too. And who really likes to exercise?
Not me.
Me neither.
Nobody. So we're good?
What? Oh, you still have prediabetes. Big time.
It looks as if Smokey is going to use the drown, stir, drown and feel technique. After the first drown, a good start. Next, another drink. And finally, a close feel.
Is it cool? Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, Smokey, catch. Oh, my bad, Smokey.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Welcome back to No Pulp. Ian Nicholas here, ready to give out a final word. And we're talking coaching on the men's side of the NCAA tournament. We've already seen guys like Kevin Keats from NC State and Dan Monson from Long Beach State get some love here in the spring. But I want to highlight 2 coaches on not named Keats who got their team to the Final Four. Dan Hurley, yes, you know that he is done fantastic things with the Huskies. They look geared to win back-to-back championships for the first time since 2007. But Nate Oates, 10 years ago at Romulus High School outside Detroit, he was handing out Capri Suns in fundraisers, and you know, he was a math teacher. Now he is a wizard who people think could be an NBA coach and runs the most efficient offense in the country. And these two, Dan recommended Mr. Oates for a job at Buffalo, his big break after meeting him trying to recruit a player from his high school in Detroit. One story, these two are connected at the hip, and it's going to be fun to see their 2 squads go at it.
Well, I'm looking forward to that. And Ian, I appreciate you taking a little more positive note because unfortunately, I have to take a negative note.
Always got to balance you out.
Pulp with my final word. 3 years ago, Dave Doran, the head football coach at NC State, said after his team's Holiday Bowl was canceled due to COVID with the other team, that the NCAA stood for no clue at all. And time after time again, that proves to be true. And this weekend, in the women's college basketball Sweet 16 and Elite 8 controversy in Portland, we had to break the tape measures out to measure the distance from the top of the three-point arc to the bucket on both sides because the NCAA put out a floor for 4 games in the biggest stage in women's college basketball that didn't have the same dimensions on either side. The NCAA just keeps getting it wrong. The weight rooms 3 years ago, discrepancy on the men's and women's side. When does it end? When does it end with the NCAA, who can't seem to keep shooting itself in the foot and get anything right these days, Ian?
Yeah, that was definitely one of the most bizarre things we've seen. Shout out to all those teams saying, we're going to play through this.
Agreed.
And it was really a great part of March Madness. Andrew Selover, Ian Nicholas. We'll see you next time on No Pulp. Enjoy the basketball.